Greetings everyone, this is Danny from harrtravel.com, your Alaska cruise experts, and today I'm in beautiful Skagway, Alaska. Well, actually the ship is in Skagway. We just headed over to Dyea to take part in a couple excursion options. Now this particular one is a combo excursion where we get to do the Mushers camp, meet the dogs. They also have one here where you can do the actual dog sledding. This particular one, like I said, we get to meet the Mushers, learn all about the experience, and then we're also gonna pan for some gold. So the drive up here was absolutely stunning. And what I really enjoyed, as I always do, is all of the insight of the driver guide. He was talking about, well, what it is like to live up here, what it was like in the gold rush, and really just digging in so that we can learn a little bit more about the local culture. And now that we're here, we're gonna have some hands-on experiences, getting to play with the dogs a little bit, getting to pan for some gold. So follow along and join us today. So now we're at the Mushers camp. Now this is such a big thing here in Alaska for so many different reasons. What I love about it from the educational standpoint is you get to learn about the dogs. Oftentimes it's not the dogs that you're expecting. It's not these massive Alaskan Malamutes, the Huskies. What they really are is mixed breeds. They've had tons and tons of different bloodlines that are mixed between hounds and Huskies and all kinds to really create some of the best athletes on the entire planet. And what I love about that is they dispelled a lot of myths when we were here today, talking through all the different options. I mean, these dogs love to run. They absolutely love to exercise. And what's interesting is cruise ships play a large part in the industry here because so many different mushers that have dogs bring the dogs down to Southeast Alaska to meet the cruise ship so they can go out and of course do runs, which is great exercise for the dog. It also provides the premium dog food for them, which is a huge expense. One of the biggest expenses of this entire industry, of course, is the feed. It's really, really high quality. So let's head on over. The first stop is Trails Inn. We have three beautiful dogs over here. Now these guys are all past their, of course they still love to run, but these have all participated. In fact, Shadow here ran in the Iditarod, was the lead. Absolutely beautiful doggy there. Yes, you guys, I know. Love, a lot of love to go around. You got another doggy tucked away there taking a little bit of nap. So once again, these guys are about 8, 9 years old. And what this is meant to kind of show is the life cycle of the dog as well. So we talked a little bit a second ago about the Iditarod. Now the Iditarod is the most well-known dog race in the entire world. It's an incredible one. It's actually a very, very expensive one to participate in. A lot of people have big sponsors, but you also are going to have the Yukon Quest. So this is, if you want to think of it more of the hard core. I always thought the Iditarod was the hardest core that you could possibly get, but the Yukon Quest is another race as well. So usually you'll get between 12 and 15 participants and you'll get 50 to 60 in the Iditarod. So we started off our excursion right here, got a ton of history. So you can see some of the pictures. Now dog sledding is not a new thing here in Alaska, but if you look at the pictures, the dogs were much, much larger because back then in the gold rush, it was all about hauling goods. So you can think of, basically a similar job as horses, but they did a better job at it. So the idea, but previously was really all about the biggest dog that you can get that can pull the sled. And it evolved over time. In fact, it was this time period when they first started racing dogs as well, kind of as a competition. You can imagine miners like to bet on things. And so it's been this evolution, and it's not just, the highly trained athletes or, if you think about the people that are participating in these that have race dogs here in Alaska. Once again, there are a ton of people that do. And what's so interesting is during the last year and a half, it's been tough on so many people. And because the cruise ships weren't running here in Alaska, it actually had a devastating effect on a lot of people who would bring the dogs down. And really this was their income source. So not only do the people make an income, the guides, but the dogs do here as well. I've got so many great pictures and memories with the little puppies, licking my face and meeting the dogs and learning about them. And it was just something I hadn't really thought about before. But of course, we're here right now. We're back, which I'm really proud of. Right over here, just going to point out a few things. So you've got an Iditarod sled right there. Was talking a lot about the idea that once you get going, you never let go. They put the ice hooks down when the dogs stop, but it was really interesting because they talked about how they feed them, from the front to back, what you do on a multi-day race, but also just what it takes to keep up a dog like this and their preferences. He was talking about the idea that when the dogs come inside, they get really hot really quick and they prefer to be outside. They sleep outside, and a lot of them, even with a house, will prefer to sleep on the snow because of the breed of dog, because of their bloodlines, how they live, and essentially the metabolism and their makeup of their body. So let's head over. There's a couple more doggies. Now these guys are younger. So these guys are 3 years old. Got the hamster wheels over here, really a kind of a cool idea where they can run as they'd like. These guys have so much incredible energy. And throughout the entire time here, they're not just meeting with guests, they're also going out and doing the sled races. Now keep in mind, from an excursion standpoint, if you're doing one of the sled dog excursions that leaves close to town, you're going to be on on ground. It's not going to be on the snow. They do have options as well where they'll take, same concept. They'll have musher camps that are set up on some of the glaciers up higher up where you can fly up and you can actually do a dog sled on the snow itself. But for me, it doesn't really matter. I really love the idea of getting to know the dogs, understanding the purpose of what they do, understanding them. To me, education is all about opening up your mind and learning new things. So now this is fun. I got to pet dogs, I got to play with them, we had a great time, but I learned so much. I've actually done this before, and each and every time I've done it, I learned something brand new, because just like the person in charge of them, the dogs each have their own personality. They each bring something different to the table. And this is a perfect excursion for families. Once again, it's for pretty much anybody who's interested and who has a love of animals. I think you're gonna really enjoy this. Now, we have done a multi-part excursion. So we spent some time here, we learned about it, we got to meet the dogs, and now we're actually gonna head over and do a little bit of gold panning. But before we do, I just wanted to take you over here once again, overview. This has been an incredible day here already so far. Really just the scenery that you're surrounded by. I mean, this is one of the most stunning places I've ever seen in my entire life. Every time I come to Alaska, I'm blown away. You've got mountains with glaciers all around us. You've got the beautiful spruce trees and all the other in the forest here. There's a stream just outside where the salmon were running. It's really about that full Alaska experience, and pretty excited that we chose this one. Now, the history of Skagway is all about gold. It really became the, gateway to the Yukon because of the gold rush. So much of the history, all the characters, all of that, I love that they talked about it on the way up here, kind of explaining to us who the people were, some of the big characters, what they did, why people went up the different routes, because there's actually two different ways that you can go up. We're in fact later on this afternoon gonna do the Yukon White Pass Railroad. That's one pass up, and right here we're actually at the headway of the Chilkoot Trail, which you couldn't bring horses up. So lots and lots of history, we can dig into that, and me as a middle school history teacher, the nerd in me gets really, really excited. But what I love is the experiential learning. So we're hearing about it, we're seeing the incredible places here, but we're also taking part. So we did a little bit of gold panning here today. Several different techniques, but basically gold is heavy and it's gonna go all the way to the bottom. So you gotta agitate it. And once again, now there's huge machines, but this is really the way they did it during the olden days, the Klondike gold rush, and actually there's several other gold rushes as well too. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm agitating it so that all the heavy things go to the bottom. So in this case, that's gonna be pebbles and also gold. And I'm gonna wash away some of the top layers here. There we go. Get a little more, agitate it some more, get all that stuff to drop on down. And then eventually what you're gonna see is it's gonna kind of creep over to the side as we move around here. So I've been doing this for just a little bit here. This is actually the second load. All right, let's go. Something I used to do with my middle school students, really cool activity. Once again, nothing brings education. Well, actually nothing really works the way of doing it yourself. I mean, you're gonna learn by hearing and reading and seeing, but when it's hands-on to me, it just really adds to that overall experience. Okay, so as I continue on, I'll keep agitating it, keep rinsing it, agitate, rinse. And we actually did end up, so like I said, this is my second pan here. You can see a few specks here over on the side already, so I'm gonna keep going. But we did it just a minute ago, and I don't know if you can see that there, but had about 7 or 8 different gold flakes in there. Such a really cool thing, and you almost always do because it's still rich up here with gold, not to the quantity that it's worth it for another gold rush, if you know what I mean. So let's see if we can get a little bit more. All right. Okay, so then all you got to do is you take the little bits of gold. Let's see, I've got some right here. Take that. Yeah, right on in there, and look at that. We found some gold. Pretty cool. And just for a bonus, because they're absolutely delicious, I think it's time for s'more fun, or, well, s'more in my belly. I can barely contain myself. I'm excited. Now, I've always enjoyed each and every stop here in Skagway because there's so many different things that you can do. Downtown is excellent, but there's hiking trails all around the city as well. And I love taking an excursion that gets you out of the city, head back and enjoy it a little bit later on. But look at this. I mean, you have the incredible scenery all around. You've got a river right here that's coming up. Of course, there's salmon. I can see them swimming up right here now. You've got the incredible mountain scenery behind me with all those small glaciers that are tucked away. It's really something stunning. And so I highly recommend that you get out, do a little bit of exploration, and maybe mix and match your excursions as well, so you can get out and enjoy the incredible nature and everything about Alaska, the last frontier. Now, this excursion today with, of course, all the history of the gold rush, the hands-on experience, getting to meet the dogs, learning about the culture up here in Alaska is just one of the many reasons why we love to visit Alaska. All throughout the cruise, you have incredible scenery. On the excursions, you have unbelievable scenery as well. But there's so much to learn. It's such a kid and family-friendly destination. It's really that perfect destination for every single member of the family. So whatever it is you're interested in, they actually have a huge zip line course right behind here as well too that you can combine together. However you want to mix and match, there's sure to be a perfect excursion for you in Alaska. Now, of course, when you book your Alaska cruise, make sure you do it right on hartravel.com. You can take advantage of those interactive deck plans to pick the perfect room or suite for you, your friends, family, or group. We also have some great videos on our channel as well about Alaska, about the different excursions and the different products and experiences.